joining us. I'm Jordan Tama. I co-direct Bridging the Gap, and welcome to this webinar on our new Policy Outreach Award, which we're very excited about. I'll have each of us will kind of quickly introduce ourselves, and then we'll start talking about what this award is about and how the application process works, and give you a chance to answer questions you might have about it. I mentioned I co-direct Bridging the Gap. I'm on the faculty at American University in DC, and I'm joined by Eric Lynn Greenberg, Fabiano Pereira, and Megan Nerding. Eric, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Lynn Greenberg. I'm an assistant professor of political science at MIT and a fellow with the Bridging the Gap project.
Hi, I'm Fabiana Pereira, but if you meet me in person, Fabi's fine, and I'm an associate professor at the William J. Perry Center for Hemispheric Defense Studies at National Defense University in Washington, D.C., and a fellow with Bridging.
And I'm Megan Nerdig. I am a staff member with Bridging the Gap.
So just quickly, a word about Bridging the Gap. Some of you may be familiar with Bridging the Gap, others not so much. Our general mission is to promote links between scholars of international issues and people outside of academia, both the public and people in the policy community, policy practitioners of various kinds. And we run a number of different kinds of programs. Some of them are training programs. We have a program for PhD students called New Era, which is a program that's designed to give PhD students new ways of thinking about how to generate policy relevant research questions, particularly through a scenario exercise. We run a workshop each year for postdocs and faculty called the International Policy Summer Institute, which is focused on giving postdocs and faculty new tools for disseminating work to audiences outside of academia, both public and practitioner audiences. And we have a new suite of programs, which we call New Voices in National Security, which involves convening workshops that bring together scholars and practitioners to share ideas and knowledge on international issues. And this Policy Outreach Award is a kind of extension of that New Voices program, because it's also focused on trying to bring scholars and practitioners together on particular issues that they care about and work on and have expertise on. And so we particularly want to bring new voices into the Washington, D.C. policy conversation, and postdocs, people who have recently finished their PhDs, often are not already well known to people in Washington, D.C., and have great new insights, knowledge based on research they've done, cutting edge research often, and we want those ideas, insights that are policy relevant to become known to people in the policy community who might be able to benefit from learning about them. And so we've created this Policy Outreach Award, and this is the first year we're doing it. We're going to be awarding 2 awards this year, and then it'll be kind of ramping up over time for the next year, 6 in 2025. And the purpose of the award is to provide funding for folks who are in a postdoc program or are less than 2 years out from having completed their PhD to travel to Washington, D.C. And spend time in Washington, D.C. briefing people in the policy community here about policy implications of your research. And so, the funding covers travel and 3 nights of accommodation in DC. But the key thing that we're particularly interested in is having folks who are interested and able and have a good plan for not just presenting the kind of academic research they've done, but conveying policy implications of their research that would be important and relevant to practitioners. And we're defining practitioners here broadly. So this can include government officials, officials at international organizations, foreign government officials, as well as U.S. government officials, folks at think tanks, NGOs, private sector, et cetera, whatever audience might fit for you. So that's in a nutshell what the award is designed to do. I mentioned you've got to be within 2 years of having completed your PhD. We are open to candidates from different fields, including international relations, international studies, political science, public policy, and history. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to apply for this award or to get this award, but you do need to be based in the United States. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric to talk a bit more about kind of what we're looking for and what we mean by this type of outreach.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jordan. I think you really offered a very good overview of the program. So at the end of the day, I think when we think about outreach, our goal here is that the folks that get picked up for this program will go and share research that informs ongoing policy debates. So this kind of informing, I think, can take a number of different forms. It might include one-on-one briefings with policymakers, think tank analysts, or it might be a larger briefing where you're actually going to DC, setting up sessions and briefing to broader communities outside of the ivory tower. So who are those communities? Jordan laid some of them out early on, but we're really thinking here about members of Congress and their staffs, perhaps, folks that are involved directly in the legislative process, folks at executive agencies and departments, so whether that's state, DOD, Treasury, Finance, whoever would be involved in implementing policies based on your research. Think tanks as well, and even private sector organizations and NGOs that could benefit from your expertise. Fabiana is going to talk a little bit more about the actual application process. We're going to ask you to put together a policy outreach plan. But I think the key thing that we want you to take away from this is we want you to go share your research and your findings with folks that can do something with it. We'll ask you to be as specific as possible in these plans that you put together as part of your proposal. But at the same time, we're going to help folks that get selected for the award to fine-tune their engagement strategy. So you might not necessarily need to know the exact individual who's serving as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for whatever, but as long as you're able to identify kind of the broad offices that you're interested in engaging in, we'll be able to help you out. So that's what I've got, and let me turn it over to Fabi.
Hi. Great. So I have to talk a little bit about the application process. And so we have the application has 3 components: your CV, your statement of policy implications of research, and your policy outreach plan. Your CV is pretty straightforward. The only kind of thing that I want to highlight there is that if you are an international student, if you're somebody that has experience in another country, make sure you submit your CV in a way that matches American academic formatting for CVs. I know that I came from somewhere else where people put pictures on their stuff. Just make sure that your CV matches what is standard for American academics. The second component is the statement of policy implications of research. And for me, this is the heart of the application. It's really what we're going to look at all the parts carefully, but this is your opportunity to explain what your big idea is. And what I want to say here is that this is derived from your research, and it's probably a chapter in your book or in your dissertation, but you want to adapt it in a way to make it a little more accessible for policy audiences. A good example of what that kind of writing looks like is the Monkey Cage blog, which is in a hiatus now, but I'm pretty sure you can still access old posts, or they're still available. So I would familiarize yourself a little bit with what that style of writing is and try to communicate your ideas in a way that kind of mimics that style, because that's a very successful way of communicating with policymakers. Lastly, your policy outreach plan is just you telling us who is in the best position to benefit from hearing your idea. In this, for me, thinking back to the stage that you're going to be in if you're applying to this is like the big dream. Like, who do you want to get your stuff in front of? And again, as Eric said, these people, the Virginia Gap team, have a lot of experience, so it doesn't, if you miss a little bit on identifying the exact person, that's not such a big deal, but you do need to show that there's a coherence between what your policy idea is and like some understanding of what the right implementer would be in the like big bureaucracy of international relations. So those are the 3 components, and I'll stop there.
Great, and we are ready to take questions. So there's a Q&A tab. Tab's probably not exactly the right word, but place that you should be able to access on the Zoom platform. So you can put any questions you have into the Q&A, and we'll be glad to field them. Also want to just describe the process the timeline really going forward. So applications are due February 27th. There's a form on the site where you would submit your application on our website. And then we'll be reviewing the applications within, a couple weeks after that and making decisions in March. So you would hear in March, and in terms of the timeline of when you might do this policy outreach, it can really be any time after that. So I mean, it could be anytime later this year, later in the spring, summer, fall, etc. If you end up with questions later on in the process after today, you can always email us. Our email address is bridgingthegap@american.edu. You can also find that on our website, and we're always happy to answer questions over email as well. Yeah, Fabi, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump and ask a question that I only thought of now. In terms of coming here to deliver your policy recommendations, how flexible is Bridging the Gap going to be in working with somebody that has commitments at their home institution, maybe needs to work around teaching classes or summer or something like that?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of flexibility there, because when you do this policy outreach is really up to you. I mean, we're prepared to fund it anytime during the remainder of this year. So if you're going to be very busy, through the spring or into some of the summer, and you wouldn't be able to make this trip to DC until September or October, that's fine. It's the timing of when you do this is flexible. Okay, no other questions? All right. Well, we did record this. We're also going to be putting it on our website, and so if you just found this so compelling that you want to watch it again, you can watch it again. But you can also just reach out to us by email with questions. So thanks so much for joining, everybody, and we do hope you'll apply, and we look forward to getting applications from you.